I got to think that there are Michigan avid Go Blue people out there that are working the metrics to shove Michigan into that game in Indianapolis in December, that there are some kind of metrics that work for the Wolverines here.
Yeah, I think there's no, by about 3:30 Eastern on Saturday, I don't think you're going to have to worry about that. So there's no need going through the mental gymnastics. I think we're in a period right now, and I would just say this to my fellow Michigan fans. I think this is going to be a difficult period for the next few games, because here's where we're at. At Wisconsin, Ohio State at home, we're likely looking at a bowl game against a ranked team out of the SEC or a ranked team maybe out of the Pac-12 in the Holiday Bowl. And then they open next season at Notre Dame, and depending on a couple decisions that some of their players make, that's clearly going to be a preseason top 10 team. Which means after last week's game against Maryland, it is entirely conceivable, Mark, that the odds makers out there in the desert will not make Michigan a favorite to win a football game again until September 9th next year when they host Western Michigan. So we're going through a cycle right now where we had nearly an entire roster turnover. I love the makeup of our roster. The only position that I think we really have a question mark for the next 2 years is at quarterback. That's why I liked putting Peters in, because everybody's very high on Dylan McCaffrey, the freshman. That's Christian McCaffrey's younger brother. You had Don Brown, our celebrated defensive coordinator, come out during the bye week. You don't typically see this. And on his own, named Dylan McCaffrey and how impressed he is going up against him on the scout team. So I think now's a good time to find out, who is Brandon Peters? Can he lead a program? Because I think it's going to be sort of rocky for Michigan. I'm not saying they won't win any of these games, but I don't expect them to win more than one or two. And so I think that's where the talk's going to really ratchet up on Harbaugh and everything else. Mm-hmm. But then we'll get to a point that the roster that's been built, as it's matured, I just think we're going to get the whole line. It's darkest before the dawn. And I hope I'm wrong. I just think between now and the season opener next year against Notre Dame, the next 4 games for Michigan are going to be rocky. And so I just urge my fellow Michigan fans, relax, be patient, look at the big picture, because I think if we can get through this 4-game stretch and put up with what could be some frustration and growing pains, I think what'll come after that for the next few seasons could be very special.
Michigan fans, brace yourselves for what Steve's talking about. It reminds me of a stretch that Clay Helton had at USC near the end of 2 seasons ago. Stanford in a Pac-12 championship game, another really difficult late season, regular season game, a loss to Wisconsin to conclude the season in the Holiday Bowl. Then they turn around against Alabama and Stanford to open up the next season. And it didn't work real well during that little 5-game stretch, but a couple months later, they're sitting at the Rose Bowl as the champions over Penn State. All right, Steve Deace, Michigan Podcast, joining us to break down Michigan football with the Wolverines taking on the Wisconsin Badgers this Saturday. Steve, we always appreciate the discussion.
Thanks, man. Go Blue.